Do a little quick story here. The University of Tennessee voted to raise tuition 4 to 8% next fall. And hey, they also approved a new tuition model beginning in the fall of 2013, which will require full-time students to pay for 15 credit hours instead of the current 12. During this meeting, one of the UT trustees, Doug Horn, asked his fellow board members to consider committing to a goal of no tuition increase next year. One of his fellow trustees for UT, Jim Murphy, immediately rebuffed him and said the expectation that the board could go without a tuition increase is unreasonable and goes against the historic model of funding education in Tennessee. Wow, what an admission. Going without a tuition increase goes against the historical model of funding education in Tennessee. Mr. Murphy is completely correct. School systems are always asking for more funds. Even our local school system here in Knox County has been fighting for more money, though it's through a tax increase on all of us, of course. As a quick side note, since 1970, the number of public school students has increased by about 9%, while the number of public school employees, which is your teachers plus everyone else, has increased by 96%. That's almost 100% for if you were educated in that school. So
thank you.
Yeah. Over that same time period, the amount of money per student has increased tremendously, and scores on the National Assessment of Educational Progress have stayed flat at best. Along with the tuition increase news, the administration noted the staff and faculty are underpaid when you reference a similar institution. But what never is mentioned is if the faculty to which they are comparing themselves are overpaid, and thus skewing the results. Maybe the faculty at UT are paid about right, and everyone else is overpaid. So you may be asking, Patrick, how can this happen?
Patrick, how can this happen?
Thank you, Tori. I can hear you say it. When people are yelling at the radio, it doesn't come through. So, but the reason this is happening is because the good old government is distorting the market again. See, everything government gets involved in ends up raising the costs for everybody. Look at healthcare. They have run the price there sky high. And now they're doing the same thing at colleges. By funding these student loans through government guarantees, it results in more students attending school. And according to supply and demand, it's going to start raising the costs of doing so. You know, it's interesting to note how many liberal and outright socialists are on these college campi that preach how bad capitalism is and how the market screws people over. That is, of course, until it involves their paycheck. But to stay loyal to their agenda, their solution is for government to entirely subsidize college education for everyone, ensuring the professors will have plenty of students to charge the government for, quote, teaching, if this is what you want to call what they're doing. I would counter it as more along the lines of propagandizing or just outright ripping off. Because many times these colleges sell a student a product for which there is no market. When the student graduates and cannot find a job, where is that academic advisor now? Why, still back at their cozy job at the school, selling some other sucker on a major that does not have a marketable value. In case you think this is an overreaction on my part, here is what the UT president stated. Quote, "The Board of Regents aren't our enemy. They're in business, too, of producing what's good for Tennessee, and that's producing more graduates," unquote. Never mind if they cannot get a job with the major they were sold by the school. That's not the school's problem. It's getting you in, getting your money, and getting you out the door so they can get another pigeon in your place. Now, I'm not saying don't get a higher education. I'm saying if you're a student, do your own thinking and research. Don't just accept what your student advisor is telling you. It is your money, and they are getting more and more of it each semester. Just make sure they earn it. Along those same lines, Congress seems to be closing in on a deal which would head off a July 1st doubling of the interest rates on federal loans to college students. The goal is to get the legislation passed, which would keep the current rate of 3.4% for another year. Now, according to Democratic aides, the deal would cover the $6 billion price tag of the program by charging companies more to insure pensions and changing rules so companies could take fewer tax deductions for their contributions to those pensions. Now, is this not one of the most asinine schemes you ever heard of? Or is it just me? Am I the only one who sees this absolute lunacy in this? So the government is subsidizing loans, which, by the way, it has no constitutional authority to do. And by subsidizing, that means you, the taxpayer, are paying for the cost. But to fund this, we're going to charge companies to insure pensions. Again, something that is not constitutional and the government has no business doing. But they're going to do that and change the rules so companies get fewer tax deductions. So let's get this straight. We're going to subsidize student loans, and to pay for it, decrease the amount of money companies have so they cannot hire these students when they graduate. That's our government. That's how they think. They never plan ahead. They never see the big picture. All they see is these bureaucrats see their little microcosm of their job. By working towards that, usually they end up screwing other people. And that's government for you. And the less of it we have, the less chance that has of happening.